Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening to Wake Up, Look Up, a podcast where we connect events happening in real time to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Zach Weihrauch. And in today's episode, we're asking the question, should we play God? This is prompted by an article I read this week written by Kristen Brown in Bloomberg News. It was looking at advancements in genetic testing, particularly related to IVF, or in vitro fertilization. Rapidly, science is making the promise to aspiring parents that genetic screening can let them know if a particular future child is at higher risk for a number of things. We can determine in advance if that child is going to be male or female, if they're going to look certain ways cosmetically, or if they're going to have diseases or physical limitations or disabilities. As a result, parents are increasingly in the driver's seat on decision-making as to what kind of child they want to have and whether or not they want to take on the burden of not just having, but raising and caring for a child who might be at higher risk for a particular disease or disability. Well, as you might imagine, this is causing a pretty sharp divide in the medical and scientific community over whether this advancement is good or bad. Those who are for it are saying that this will potentially alleviate a lifetime of suffering for both the child and the parents. Caring for a child with severe disabilities or a debilitating illness is a difficult thing to do. And by giving parents advance notice, they can decide for themselves whether they want to do that or not. The argument goes that over time as well, the human genome will get stronger because we're editing out various illnesses and diseases as we select not to have kids who bear those particular genes. Of course, the arguments against it are manifold as well. There are those who argue it's commodifying life, that we're reducing actual people down to the way you would buy a car. Do you want leather seats, power windows, what kind of stereo? Do you want a child with brown hair, brown eyes, a boy or girl, this disease or not, this genetic code or not? There are other people who argue that it's dividing us again along socioeconomic lines because this kind of screening, this kind of testing is available right now, at least only to the wealthy. So wealthier families have healthier children while poorer families roll the dice. Also, there are those that argue that the science just isn't there yet, that when you're being told you can know these things with certainty, it's really a high likelihood or a strong guess. And parents are actually choosing to terminate pregnancies based on a more likely than not outcome, making life and death decisions on limited information. Well, how should we think about this as Christians, particularly knowing that IVF is on the rise in our culture and in our churches? Well, let's just start with this. The sanctity of human life is rooted in the idea that every person in the womb and out of the womb bears the image of God. And that image of God language is important because it roots our value not in our physical or mental ability. You don't bear the image of God if you can run the mile under a certain time, if you can jump high, or if you can learn algebra. The image of God is what helps every person retain their value regardless of what they grow up to be or what they grow up able to do. It is just the idea that every human being is stamped with the impression of God. When we terminate pregnancies based on the physical ability, mental ability, cosmetic appearance, we are saying something about what makes people valuable, and we're saying something about God himself. Proverbs 3 says that we should lean on the Lord, trust God with all our heart and our understanding, not play God, but actually yield to God's desire. There used to be this idea, and one we should reclaim, that God gives us what he wants us to have in order to shape us. In fact, some of the most amazing people I know are parents who are raising children with disabilities, siblings of kids who have disabilities is because it nurtures something in them. It creates in them a certain kind of beauty, a certain kind of neighbor love, a certain kind of holiness, learning to care for people. This is a slippery slope that will lead to the erosion of compassion. It will lead to looking at a kid in a wheelchair and wondering why his parents didn't just terminate him. It will lead to value statements, designer kids, and the way you might think about designer purses. It will further a heart and a posture that is saying to God, not only am I not reliant on you, but move over. I know how to do your job better. Listen, I'm not against science. I'm not against medicine. The Bible is not against progress, but progress is not progress if it takes us away from God. Progress is not progress if it comes in the form of rebellion. Should we play God? No. No matter how many times science and medicine offer to let us. Hey, thanks so much for watching this episode of Wake Up, Look Up. While you're here, take a minute to like and subscribe. It really helps us get the word out. Don't hesitate to leave a review wherever you might find this podcast on an audio level and help spread the word. And hey, while you're here, check out all the other content we have at Christ Community Chapel on YouTube. Some of those videos are popping up on the screen now. Click on one.